Joining another AMA, our weekly AMA. We're going to try to hit as many questions as possible. Tom, as always, is here. He's collecting all of your thoughts, all of your everything you need. And make sure you put your questions in the chat, and we'll be adding them as soon as possible. Let me put some light here.
Hey, happy Friday, everyone. Just to let you know, I have a document in front of me that the team at Celsius are providing live questions. So everything you guys have in the chat, send it through, and I do receive it to Ask Alex. So we'll be keeping the topic up to date with what you're asking for.
Yeah, sorry. I forgot the lighting. We have the chandeliers came back from cleaning. So
they look nice. They're good.
All right, and my son actually did my hair today. He was like, Dad, you don't look good with that hair. Let me comb your hair before you go back on YouTube. So some great news. We added Ethereum Classic. I think we already have over $1 million in deposit just from that. So thank you everybody for contributing it. Again, we need more. We love the coin. We have a lot of borrower needs for it. So send us all the Ethereum Classic you have. And we'll be doing a MOIP show with ETC Labs. I guess he's the CEO or the head of ETC Labs, right? And they're talking about all things Ethereum Classic and all the efforts they're doing to kind of create development and expanding that community. So that's coming, I think, next week. Back to the Future, as you know, we launched a funding effort. There's over 1,100 people who applied. Much more than we expected. We only processed 200 applications to date. So I apologize for the delays. A lot of it has to do with us just not being ready for this kind of onslaught. But we added a few more people. Again, this is not us. This is Bank to the Future and Prime Trust who are actually processing all the transactions. So they've added a few people, and we hoping to process about 100 a day. So if you just filled up your application yesterday, it's still going to take us a week to get to you. So we're at about $12 million out of the 15 that is available. But I can assure you that we will accommodate everybody. So if you want to come in, you want to participate, we will find a way to give you a piece of the Celsius equity, and I'll be talking about the equity in a minute. We launched with several partners. Again, you can see all of our partners listed on our main website, on the main page. If you scroll a little bit down, you'll see a lot of them. The latest one is DigiFox, which is Data Dash, or Nicholas Merton's new app. So again, he integrated with us to enable through the app earning interest on USDC. And again, a lot of these partners have different features inside their wallet, like Monarch, like Mode, like Bitwala in Germany. And you really need to look at the different options and find features that are important for you. The whole point about having 15 or so different partners is that each one of them has developed certain unique things that we may not have time to do, or we just don't have the skills. And that's why we partner with all of these different wallets and systems, is to enable the community to have more functions, but still have the kind of the anchor Celsius service. Almost all of them are offering the same rate. So it's a pass-through that you don't get less if you work with Monarch, or if you work with Data Dash, or if you work with Bitwala. So all those things are very positive, and we love our partners. So we are releasing a new version of the app. It should be out next week, and got delayed because of a few little things. And again, you'll be able to buy USDC, Bitcoin, and Ethereum with either ACH, linking it to your bank account with ECH, or with SEPA. No fees. You're going to get the best rate that we can find. So it will basically choose between 3 or 4 exchanges and give you the spot. It's the same thing as if you bought it on Binance, or bought it on Bitfinex, or whoever has the lowest rate. and no transfer fee, no purchase fee. So now you don't have to go through all the steps of buying USDC on Coinbase, or after having to go somewhere else. It will all be available through the app. That's kind of the main release. There's 10 other things that we're fixing or doing, like for example, making the password 6 digits to 4 digits. But all these things are enhancements that are should be very helpful and enable you to do much more. And let's see what else. And the swag store is open. Again, we shipped over 200 packages. If you didn't get your package, it's Tom's fault. If you live in the UK and you didn't get your package, Tom is supposed to go to the post office and mail these things out. But because he's working 7 days a week on our videos and content, he didn't have time to send you a swag. But seriously, we sent over 200 of them to everybody who was waiting. And if you didn't get any swag, or you don't deserve any swag, you can go to the to the swag store. There's a link on our website to the swag store, and Kimberly, who's done a great job both building that store as well as adding more items. As you know, she's working on coins and she's working on mugs and all kind of other stuff. So if you don't see any items that you really like, let us know. You can let us know right here in the chat, and we'll do a quick vote on Telegram or somewhere else. We'll show you guys the design. It's for the community. And guess what? 80% of everything we make on that store is going to go back as earnings to everybody as income. So if you buy something on the swag store, any money that's left there, besides our cost, right? If it cost us, I don't know, $12 to make a t-shirt and we sold it for 20, 80% of that $8 is going to go back to the community. So you can feel good about wearing it and knowing that everybody else benefited from it as well. All right. So we are increasing. So as you know, we're doing this raise. We already got a lot of this money in, and because we got the money in, we are increasing our rewards to the community. You would say, wait a second, you're going to take the investors' money and give it to me? Yes, that's the whole point. So we are raising the. We used to have this program where you got $10 and whoever you introduced to Celsius got $10. We're raising it to 20 plus 20. So if you bring people to Celsius, you get $20 and they get $20, right? Which is double what we did before. And now we can afford to do it. So when investors give us money, especially if they're strategic investors, right? What they want is for us to grow the community even faster. Why? Because as an equity holder in Celsius, what you want is the largest community, right? What everybody wants is for Celsius to have 1 billion users, and then just like WhatsApp had 1 billion users and they sold to Facebook, maybe Celsius becomes part of a bigger company, and then whoever holds equity in the company makes a lot of money, right? So the incentive of the people who are investing in equity is not exactly the same as the people who are holding Cell token. They're much more long-term thinkers, right? But they do want their money, the investors' money, to be spent on growing the community. Every question I get from investors is, how are you going to grow the community? How are you going to add members? Where are they going to come from? And so on. So guess what? The easiest way for us to grow it is to give you guys money. Instead of giving it to Google or Facebook or anyone else, right? I'd rather give it to you guys. And all of our competitors, if you look at crypto or Nexo or BlockFi, they're spending millions of dollars. They give all the money to these advertisers, right? Do you see any ads from Celsius anywhere, right? We said that a long time ago. I think a year and a half ago, we said we're going to stop giving your money. It's your money, because when the money we are spending is at 20%, it's part of that 20% that we keep. So instead of that, we're going to give it back to you guys. We're going to rely on the community to grow the community. And it took us about 18 months to get the first 50,000 users. And then it took us only 4 months to get the next 50,000 users, right? To get us to 100,000. We're already at 122,000 users right now. Right? So now it took us like 1 month to get almost to, so it's working. It's working much better than anyone else. And we want to continue that. We want to basically continue growing the community. Again, our goal is 100 million users. So we're early on, right? We're getting all excited about 100,000, but you can see very, very fast acceleration in adoption. So again, you can come in as a sell holder. Obviously, you can buy, sell on many exchanges. You can come in as equity holder. You can do both, right? Obviously, I am the largest equity holder. I'm the second largest sell holder. Now people will be like, what? You're the second largest? What happened? Did you sell your sell? No, the largest sell holder, guess who is? The largest holder of sell token. The company, Celsius, has over 350 million sell tokens. So part of what investors do when an investor buys equity in Celsius, they also get to own that part of that 350 million sell tokens. Obviously, it still belongs to the company. It still belongs to Celsius. It's still the treasury of the company. But by owning, let's say, 1% of Celsius, you also own 1% of the treasury, right? And they're relying on us, the management team, to use the treasury in a very prudent way, right? And if you remember, we talked about how before the raise, we would use some of our weekly buys from treasury, right? So instead of buying 100% from the community, we'll be buying some of that, or we're taking it some of from treasury to pay interest. Well, now that we raised all this money, we don't need to do that. We think that sell token at 22, 23 cents is an undervalued asset. So we're going to stop using the treasury to pay interest to our community, and we're going to be buying almost everything, almost 100%. And we have a little bit of inventory there because we bought more than we had to. But whatever that is, we're going to work that down and buy almost 100% from the markets. So you will see us not just buying more because we have more users who gave us more assets and we earn more interest with that, but also we'll be buying more because we're using less of our treasury, which is, again, what our investors want us to do. They're basically saying, hey, I want you to keep that treasury until sell token is a few dollars. Why are you spending it now when sell token is 10, 15, or 20 cents? So it's a win-win-win, right? The only people who lose in this scenario are the banks and our competitors who are not giving 80% to their community. And if you missed my debate with MakerDAO, it was yesterday, the CEO of MakerDAO, it was a 20 or 25-minute debate. Tom is going to add it to our YouTube channel. There's a lot of great content on YouTube. If you haven't signed up, go ahead and sign up. Click the button, the reminder, the bell to send you emails, notifications when there's new content showing up. But by tomorrow, you're going to see this new debate in which I clearly, I think I did a pretty good job explaining the difference between the DeFi guys and Celsius, right? And the main difference, just to summarize it, the main difference is that the DeFi guys are neutral guys. They wrote a protocol that doesn't care if you are lending to an institution or an institution is lending to you. And they basically are agnostic. They just sit in the middle and basically take care of the transaction. Celsius always represents the depositor. We never represent the institution. We're never neutral. Our job is to aggregate as many depositors as possible and then go to the other side and extract as much as possible. And that's why Celsius always pays more than DeFi, because DeFi cannot extract as much as we can, because they allow a big institution to go against a little guy, and the price on that in that transaction is always lower. They can extract always less than what Celsius extract by aggregating 120,000 small users and saying, you want $20 million worth of BTC? Well, you're going to pay us more. You're not going to pay us those low rates or the ETH, like the 3% you're paying or 3.5% you're paying on some DeFi platform. You're going to pay us 5 or 6 so we can pay more to the depositors, right? So, and we're providing 80% of that back, where if you look at the price to borrow versus the price to lend, there's a much, much bigger gap on the DeFi platform because they don't have a balance, a good balance of borrowers and lenders. And because of that, they're not giving you 80%. If you do the math, they're giving you less than 50% of what they charge to borrow. So as a depositor, you look at the rate to borrow and you say, gosh, you know, I see somebody's paying 12%. Why am I getting only 3.5 or 4? Shouldn't I get like 80% of that, like Celsius? That is the crux of the matter. The protocol, even though it's neutral and it's beautiful and it's a smart contract and all the beautiful things they're talking about, is not acting in your best interest. If it did, it would be paying more than Celsius. All right, Tom, I think I made the point, and it's time for Celsius.
Oh, where'd you get that from?
Ah, you know, now people are gonna be like, what is that?
We need to get that on the swag store.
Yes, for sure.
So the first question comes from Jeff. He goes, how should we think about the risk-adjusted return on stablecoin lending? Have we done any stress test models for crypto price volatility and its impact on the stablecoin rates? Good question, Jeff.
Yeah, so Jeff, look, we went through the ultimate stress test on March 12th, right? On March 12th, the world went upside down. Bitcoin, Ethereum dropped as much as 50%. Stable coins went crazy. As I mentioned, we were for a few moments earning more than 100% per year lending Ethereum and Bitcoin because there was so much stress in the system, right? Obviously, it wasn't lasting for a long time, but for the period that we lent out, we were making much more money. So the question is, it's not, that was the most volatile period of Bitcoin and Ethereum that I've seen since 2010. Okay, I've been watching these markets since 2010. I've never seen anything like it, because if you even though like after Mt. Gox, for example, crypto did drop more faster than it did on March 12th, the amount of dollars that were involved was 1/10, maybe 1/20th of the amount of dollars that was involved on March 12th. Just BitMEX liquidated over $1 billion. You know, so when you and oh, by the way, all the DeFi guys liquidated over $300 million. They just liquidated all our customers and charged them 16% stability fee for being liquidated, right? BitMEX charged everybody 20%, which is their fee for being liquidated. Celsius did not liquidate anybody, did not charge anybody any fees. So our model, like I said before, does not work like DeFi or like the traditional exchanges, where basically the more you load up during good times, the faster you crash during bad times. That's the problem with the DeFi model. That's the problem with most exchanges, right? Because leverage is a very, very bad thing, right? It never works out, okay? And I say bad things about the US economy, or all the leverage in the US economy, all the derivatives. Guess what? None of that, all of that applies also to the crypto community, because all the guys that give you leverage are basically putting pressure. It's like a spring, right? If you stretch it too much this way, it wants to go back. And if you compress it too much, it wants to go back to normal state. So the Celsius community does not have any leverage in the system, meaning we never in the history of Celsius had more loans than assets. Right? We can't do leverage. We don't have sources of money to do leverage. Inside the BitMEX community, inside other communities, you can create leverage because you're effectively giving people coins that don't exist. When you go and give BitMEX 1 BTC and they give you 99 times leverage, those 99 coins are synthetic BTCs. They don't exist, right? They don't really exist. So at peaks, just BitMEX may have more coins that exist in total, right? Because if they have 1 million BTC and they gave everybody 30 times leverage, that's 30 million BTC. That's more than exists in the entire community, but they can do it. They don't care. You're willing to pay for it. They charge you nice interest and they give you all the BTC you want to have. So my point is that when we lend stable coins, right? Most of our stable coins and cash is lent to retail guys who give us twice as much collateral, right? Or 3 times collateral, or 4 times collateral. For example, right now, the 1% loan that we have requires 4 times collateral. So if I gave you $10,000, you gave me $40,000 worth of Bitcoin, $40,000 worth of Ether, right? So even if you have a margin call, you have so much equity with Celsius, you're never going to let that go, right? You borrowed $10,000, you're either going to return the dollars, you're going to tell me sell some of my coins, or you're going to give me more coins as collateral. And we've proven again and again during good times and bad times is that if you manage that book properly, you're not going to have liquidations, you're not going to have defaults, you're not going to have everything that happened to everybody else. Our user base, and it's, you don't have to rely on me, go on Celsians.com and see what happened after March 12th. Our usage went up through the roof. Our signups, new people coming in and joining, went through the roof, right? Like I said before, it took us 1 month to do what we did in 6 months, or before that in 18 months, right? So all of that is because when the tide receded, Celsius proved that it is not swimming naked like everybody else. I stole this from Warren Buffett. That's a Warren Buffett statement. All right, next question.
So the next question to come in is, will Celsius offer a cashback card for spending in the future?
Yeah, it's very appropriate question in light of the Wirecard/Crypto.com situation, right? So Wirecard got basically caught missing $2 billion in funds. In US dollars, it's actually 2-point-something billion dollars in funds. They went through an audit, and the auditors could not find the money. And obviously, if they don't have the money, then also the depositors don't have the money, right? So we've said from the beginning, we do not want to enable users to spend their money. Why? Because I have yet to meet a single person that comes to me and says, I am so happy I spent that 1 Bitcoin buying a sofa or buying a car or buying pizza or whatever. I'm so happy. This was the best purchase of my life, right? Almost everybody who did any purchases using crypto is sorry for that. So we are a hodler's community. Our job is to help you hodl and help prevent you from selling the coins. That's why we issue loans against it, but not in a way that makes you gamble with it or spend it on your credit card, or gives you an easy way to basically put at risk the hodling that you're doing, right? We actually make it hard. We're not making it easy, right? And we help you. Again, we don't give financial advice, but we try to make it something that you think through. It's not like you wake up in the morning, you press a button, and you just spend half of your Bitcoin, right? And that's why we did not liquidate almost anybody. In the history of the company, I think we liquidated 6 customers who said to us, I don't have the money to pay back, sell some of my coins. 6 customers out of 122,000, right? Again, go on Twitter, go on Telegram, do a search for Nexo and BlockFi and see how many thousands of people are complaining about them being liquidated. So the whole purpose of Celsius is to help you, walk you to financial freedom, right? So you can live in a house like this because you hodled. I hodled my entire life, right? So right now, the most important thing is for you not to hold dollars, not to hold assets that are being printed like there's no tomorrow, and convert that into gold, convert that into other things, and not spend them. Because the only way you increase your value, increase your balance sheet, increase the assets you have, is if you let that gold or let that Bitcoin appreciate in value. Time is what you need, right? And I think, again, to quote Einstein, compounding interest is the most powerful force in the universe. Now, if you trust Einstein, don't trust me. If you trust Einstein, the smartest guy ever lived, he's telling you that, right? So Celsius compounds your earnings week to week to week, better than anybody else. So don't spend your dollars. Don't get a credit card. Actually, take a pair of scissors and chop all the credit cards you have. Just keep one for emergency purposes, okay? Next question.
The next question come through is from Jim. He goes, hi, Alex. How do you plan to stand out from a crowded lending app space? I don't see many Celsius ads. Your opponents are producing many.
Jim, the answer is very simple. We act in the best interest of our community. We're the only ones that offer 1% interest. We're the only ones that allow you to pay with our token and reduce the rate even further, right? And we charge less on 33% LTV, 50% LTV, 25% LTV. Before Celsius existed, companies like Nexo and BlockFi charged you 20 to 24%. For the same loans, we're now charging 1% for. So we are not the one of many. We are the only one. If you do your homework and you find out that BlockFi, for example, charges you 2% origination fee. So if you took a 6 months loan, okay, and you think you're paying 5% to BlockFi, it's not 5%. It's only a 6 months loan, so that 2% is actually 4%, right? You pay almost 10% in total. That's what it's going to cost you on an annualized basis, right? Because you're paying 2% up front. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it ends up being a lot. So my point is just that you have to look at who's acting in your best interest and who is not. And you cannot fool all the people all the time, okay? So we don't need to advertise. Sooner or later, all of these customers find out that they got scammed, they had a deposit fee and a withdrawal fee and an origination fee and a termination fee and an early withdrawal fee, you name it, fee upon fee upon fee. And they will find out that Celsius does not charge any fees. And they would find out that as a depositor, you get to earn 80% of all of the stuff that Celsius does on the other side, right? So you're always on both sides of the equation acting in your best interest. We're doing better than anybody else. We're growing faster than anybody else. We paid more interest than anybody else. I'm not planning to change our formula. Next.
So the next question comes from Lee. It's a two-parter. It goes, will you be implementing fractional reserve banking into your systems? And with Bank to the Future, if people are not verified in time, will they still be able to invest after the money is raised?
So Lee, we're here to make sure that there is no fractional reserve. Fractional reserve is like cancer, okay? Let's just explain what it is, because people use it and they don't really know what fractional reserve is. So you go to your bank and you go to the ATM machine, because now you can't even talk to a teller, even if you wanted to. You deposit that check, okay? You got paid, you got some cash, you deposit in the ATM machine. What happens? What did you get in return? Do you know that the bank immediately puts that deposit as a liability? What does it mean, a liability? You just gave them money. How can it be a liability of the bank? Well, the bank owes you that money. They gave you an IOU. That's the only thing you got from the bank. You're not going to earn any interest. If anything, again, that bank is going to take your money and lend it to very risky guys with no collateral on their credit card. And it's allowed by law to do that. So what are you getting in return? Where is the asset? You're getting to trust the bank to not blow up. You're getting nothing else. You're not getting interest. You're not getting any benefit. Okay, now let's look at what happens when you deposit with Celsius. When you go and buy a stable coin, and from next week, you'll be able to buy it inside the wallet. When you buy USDC is issued by Circle, which is a trust company, or by Coinbase, which is a trust company. What does it mean, a trust company? Unlike a bank, they have to buy a treasury with that. What does it mean, treasury? They don't give you an IOU. They say, you gave me $1,000. I went and bought a bond from the US government worth $1,000, right? So who do you trust more? Do you want an IOU from a bank that who knows if it will even exist tomorrow, considering what's happening out there? Or do you want an IOU from the US government with the treasury issued by the US government? So there's a huge difference. Even though we think that a digital dollar, USDC, is the same as an IOU from the bank, the same as giving money to the bank, it's two completely different things. So when you give Celsius a token, there is actually 100% of the value sitting in treasuries with a trust company. It's the best thing you can do, right? That's what Warren Buffett does with his $140 billion in cash. He buys treasury. Exactly the same thing you're doing when you buy USDC, right? Then you have to trust Celsius to lend it out to responsible people who will pay it back. So we lend it out only against collateral, only against people in our community who giving us up to $4 worth of assets. JP Morgan lends it to people on their credit card, charges them 24%. There is nothing behind it. They don't care if they have a job, they just lost their job. You know, it doesn't matter. They charge them 24%. What can go wrong? So you have to understand what the difference is. What your bank does, that is definitely not acting in your best interest. Their job is to extract as much of that profit and deliver it to their shareholders, right? Did you ever get anything from your bank? A dividend check, a thank you letter, you know, anything. So where do you think all that profit goes, right? All of that goes to their shareholders. So this is just a real simple step-by-step illustration. And if you don't agree with anything I'm saying, prove it to me. Show me anything that I just said right now that is not correct. Okay? Next question.
The next question comes through from Roger. He goes, "Hi, Alex. Can you clarify how much equity you're selling through Bank to the Future? It states 10% with a target of 15 million to be raised. However, I believe the valuation of Celsius was 120 million.
That's correct. The math on that statement is not 100% right. We have to fix it. The math is, and it depends how much we raise, right? So if we raise 15 million and the valuation is 120 million pre, then obviously it's more than 10%. If we raised 11 million on a 120 million valuation, that's a little bit less than 10%. So the actual percentage has to do with how much in total we raise. The cap is 15 million. So if you want to know what that represents, it's going to be basically 120 plus 15. So it's 135 million. So 15 out of 135, what is that? That's the percentage that is going to be owned by the people who bought that equity, right? So you can do the math exactly. If it's 14.5 million, you can do the math exactly. So we will put the actual number there. Right now, the 10% is a placeholder because again, 11 million is less and 15 million is more, but you're correct. Your math skills are good. You get an A+ on this test. You passed the test. Next. Roger gets a free t-shirt. Next.
Thank you for that, Roger. So the next question comes from Splinter. Awesome name, by the way. Alex, what do you think will be the cornerstone for the mass public using Cell Token and Celsius as a form of money remittance between each other?
I didn't understand the question. Sorry, you broke up.
Sorry, Alex was asking, Splinter was asking, how do you see the mass public using Cell and Celsius becoming a money remittance system between users?
Look, first, I don't think money remittance is a great business. I mean, we have Cell Pay today inside the wallet. We give it for free. We don't charge any fees. So when you do something for free as a utility, it is not a money producing business. It is not something that's going to make the Cell Token worth more. Even if everybody uses it, then guess what? The company is going to be worth more. The equity in the company is going to be worth more, but the Cell Token is not going to benefit from everybody doing money transmission or payments or anything like that. So we want to add utility. We love Cell Token being used, and many people use it every day for payments, for everything else. But it's not, to be honest, again, I'm always honest with you guys, right? I'm never going to tell you something that I cannot stand behind. Unlike what you see on CNN, on TV every day, people just lying to you in your face. I just cannot get used to that. Just, you know, sorry, I work for Donald Trump. I have to lie every day, you know? So, but not to be political here. Our job is to deliver the most utility. Our job is to deliver the most value. And again, because the Celsius equity holders are the largest Cell Token holders, there is no conflict between being a Cell holder and between an equity holder. Okay, it's two guys standing in the same line waiting for the value to increase. Okay, so our job is to deliver the most value, and the most value is created by creating the largest community and having the most assets under management. This is how we win. The guy who has the biggest community, the guy who acts in the best interest, meaning every time we earn money for you, we think of it as making a trust deposit, right? We are depositing trust with you. We're showing you that we are doing everything in your best interest. We know how to create value on the assets you gave us, and we're giving you 80% of that back. And in turn, what we're hoping for is for you to trust us back and give us more assets. That is the relationship that we have. Now we get to keep 20%, okay, just like the largest hedge funds in the world get to keep 20%. So it's a beautiful arrangement. It's not, again, this is not a new arrangement. It's existed for over 100 years, you know, so you have to just look at it and say, well, why isn't everybody else doing this? Well, it is. Everybody else who's rich is doing this. It's just everybody else who's poor never got to participate in this game. Next question.
So the next question is also from Splinter, and they go, what marketing plans do you have with the raise?
So we're not going to reveal all of our secrets here, but I can tell you that we're not going to do many of the things that our competitors do. We're not going to hire big ad firms. We're not going to spend crazy money on famous people to say, oh, I love BlockFi, or come listen to my show and deposit all your money with BlockFi, right? I don't think that is, you want us to do that, right? So our job is to continue creating the best products. And most of these products have never existed before, right? Celsius invented this whole idea. You can earn money on Bitcoin. Then we added 26 other coins. We invented the idea. In 5,000 years, no one has paid gold on gold. And people say, oh, crypto has, what do you call it? Pax Gold. They may have it, but they're not earning it. I challenge the CEO of Crypto.com to come on my show or anywhere and reveal to everybody how he's making money on Pax Gold. Okay, because he's not making any money on it. He's just subsidizing. He's going to his coffers and he's selling his MCO tokens or whatever he has, and he's buying you gold and paying you whatever, 2 or 3%. Celsius actually created a mechanism to earn XAUT on XAUT, Tether Gold on Tether Gold. Even Tether was shocked. When I explained to Tether what we're going to do, they'll be like, this is brilliant. And I can't say more about it because we have an announcement coming next week. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut. And Splinter, you almost got me to spill the beans. That was good. Splinter gets a t-shirt. He almost got me. But next week, you'll find out how we make money on our money. Okay, we're making a big announcement about it next week. Next question.
Exciting time. So the next question comes from Josh. He goes, hi, Alex. You use the analogy of a baton race when you talk about who is driving Bitcoin forward. If institutional investors pick up the baton, who would they then hand it off to?
So actually, if you watch carefully my presentations, and Tom can tell you what's the name of that presentation, where I explain how we hand off the batons from the anarchists to the libertarians, to the speculators, and then to the institutions. The institutions are the one who dropped the baton. In my analogy, the institutions are not the ones who are going to get us across the finish line. The institutions are 100% responsible for taking Bitcoin from 20,000 down to 3,500. No one else is responsible. The CME market opened up and they put billions of dollars betting that they can crush Bitcoin. So if you're going to rely on those guys, and again, look, we have 260 of them as our customers. So I'm saying bad things about institutions, but these are also the people that pay all of your interest. Now, who in the world would have thought that you can put together 120,000 retail guys and then go to the institution and extract $17 million of interest from them? That's what we paid until now. And most of that came from these institutions. So we know how to get money out of them. Very few people know how to get money out of these guys. Usually they're the guys who are getting money out of you. They're the ones who crushed you. They're the ones who got you to really worry about, is Bitcoin going to survive? Is Bitcoin ever going to go back to 5,000 or 10,000, right? So they are not going to be the guys who get you to new highs. They're not, okay? I've been saying that for 10 years, right? So the baton has to be handed off to, guess who? People just like you. And that's why I created Celsius, because only people like you, more people like you, are going to be the one to get us to new highs. You have to remember that all the Wall Street firms they have a license to make money, right? They don't, the last thing they want is something like Bitcoin or Ethereum to come and take their franchise away from them. You understand that? So because of that, you cannot rely or hope that these people are going to somehow grab the baton, run Bitcoin up to 100,000 and then hand it off to somebody else. No, we, all of us, need to bring 100 million new people to crypto, because that's the only thing. More users on a limited supply of Bitcoin or Ethereum is what's going to drive prices higher. Next question.
So next question come through is from Ben. He goes, when will the purchase of cryptos be available via bank wire, and will there be any fees?
So we don't like bank wire. Have you tried to do a bank wire last time? It's horrible, but we do like ACH. So you'll be able to connect in next week, unless there's a bunch of bugs that we don't know about. And there's about 200 Celsians right now testing the apps. If you want to join the test crew, ping us up at Celsius.network and we'll add you to the beta. But next week, you'll have a version where you can link it to your bank account through SEPA or through ACH. You don't need to know how that works. You just choose your bank, put your bank account information, and you can transfer stuff back and forth. Zero fees, no deposit fee, not withdrawal fee, not purchase fee. There's no fee to buy USDC. Since Circle does not charge me a fee, I'm not going to charge you a fee. Even though other people charge you $10 to buy USDC, we don't. We will never charge you a fee. That's not how we make our money. We make plenty of money forcing the institutions to cough up cash and cough up Bitcoin as interest. That's all we want. We want to take dollars from them. Guess what? We have to pay you in Bitcoin or sell, and then use that money to buy Bitcoin or sell. Isn't that much better than doing the opposite? Now, let's take an example with Coinbase. What do? They charge you fees in Bitcoin or in Ethereum where you sell Bitcoin, and then they convert it into dollars. They actually sell it and give dollars to their depositors. They give dollars to their investors. They distributed over $2 billion in dividends since 2014. So they sucked money out of the system. So which system do you think is better? The Celsius system, where we bring dollars into the system and we convert them into Bitcoin, or the Coinbase system, where we take Bitcoin that we charge as fees, convert it into dollars and push it out to our investors out of our ecosystem? So that's why when people tell me, oh, I love my Coinbase account, I'm like, explain to me why you like it. Show me one thing they do that helps the community or helps your fellow man. Next question.
I was going to say crash often, but okay. So another Tom says, Alex, you yourself have said we should not have all our coins at Celsius and that we should diversify. Which two or more DeFi competitors do you respect the most?
Look, I love Maker. I love Compound. I think those are two great companies. They're well funded. They have a very good management team. But that does not mean that somebody cannot hack their protocol. You understand? Like there are a few other great projects, but they got hacked, right? Because these are new and untested protocols, right? What does it mean untested? They've been alive not long enough for all the hacks to be discovered. And that's why we are very careful. Like when I see one of our competitors going and dumping 20 million on some protocol of their depositors' money, that is a very risky move. That is not oh great, look, CeFi is using DeFi. So all I'm saying is that time is very important. Now again, we have DAI in our wallet. It's not like we don't believe in DAI or we don't believe in Compound, right? So our job is to enable you to make a decision. We're going to keep adding assets. We don't tell you buy this one, don't buy this one. But things that are very, very risky, we're not going to put in there. Stuff that is unproven or too fresh or has hacks in it or is clearly not stable, right? From a source code standpoint, right? Just from okay, look how many bugs they have that have been already discovered and they haven't patched them in a week or two, in a month, right? So things like that scare us, because all that means is that the door is open and you can drive a truck through it, and the truck is full of your money, right? So we've done, I think, a very good job protecting our community and listing assets slowly creating income for all of our users. Everybody's just copying Celsius. Do you see anyone coming up with a new idea? All of our competitors are just copying everything we're doing, but they can't copy the yield. You understand? All they're doing is copying, again, putting fake dollars they don't earn. Again, I'm calling on BlockFi to sit in a straight conversation and show us how they're earning all that money that they're paying out. They're not earning it, right? So you have to ask yourself, if somebody is not earning it, where is it coming from, right? Celsius is fully transparent. We show you exactly what we earn. We show you how much we pay out, and soon you'll have zero proof knowledge algorithms or mechanisms to prove that, not just to rely on my word or what we publish, but you'll be able to actually see, aggregate all the transactions, see how much was in interest was paid, and then did we distribute 80% of that to the community? Next question.
Thank you. The next question comes from Chris. Is there a risk of losing value when hodling stable coins with Celsius? If so, what is/are they?
So the value of the stable coin is kept by the trust company, not by us, right? So if you bought GUSD, Gemini is holding that treasury note from the US government. Your risk is the fact that Celsius, when you say to Celsius, give me my 1,000 GUSD back, that we will not be able to return that to you, right? And the only reason we will not be able to return that to you is if the borrower defaulted, right? And even if the borrower defaulted, did Celsius have enough assets to stand behind the default and cover it up, right? So when we raise money, first of all, the investors obviously did a lot of the diligence. They did months of the diligence, digging into every part of our books and our statements and our business practices and our licenses and corporate documents, you name it, right? We had to come up with every document ever created about Celsius for these guys, right? So they were like, okay, fine, we understand the business model. Good. Now show us your risk management. Show us your best practices. Show us what happened during all of these really, really hard days. These are all strategic investors that put that money. They know this business cold. They know exactly what happened on March 12th. They dug all the way in to see what happened with every transaction, every important transaction. And they're like, thumbs up, you guys are good, we're giving you the money. So now, if even one of our customers defaults, we have never had a default, but if somebody defaults, we will have to basically cough up that cash from our balance sheet, right? Because it's on us. Otherwise, we just shut down the business. Obviously, we're not going to shut down the business because somebody had a default. So the risk you're taking is the business practices of Celsius, the ability of Celsius to redeem stuff, and for example, one of our competitors had withdrawal problems. What does it mean withdrawal problems? They committed, they gave too many loans too far out, and too many customers, they had a problem. Too many customers came and said, I want my money now, and they couldn't pay the money. And they blamed all kind of technical problems. Oh, it's going to take us a week. No, when it takes somebody a week to give you your money back, you know something is wrong. So you want to know if your coins or your stable coins are safe. That's what you have to watch. You have to watch how much do they have in deposits, how many users are they adding, and do they have any problems with withdrawals? Do they have any problems with the stuff? So these are, because the minute you start seeing problems in those things, usually that means that there's a lot of withdrawals. And when there's a lot of withdrawals, people are having problems. So Celsius gives you all that information right in the app. You can see it in real time. It's not like our numbers are going up all the time. There are days during the week where our numbers go down, both the total deposited as well as users or anything else, right? So I'll just show you the screen. So when you go to the community page, right, on the main menu, if you can see this, the community page, right, you basically see all the numbers, and you can see every day, every hour, what's happening with everything. This is all real-time data, okay? And you can track it, and you can see sometimes the numbers go up, sometimes the numbers go down. When they go down, you have to worry. Yes, you know, if it continues to go down, there's going to be a problem, right? Next question.
Next question comes through from John. Do you have any strategy to grow and serve the community in third world countries? A lot of those communities don't have a bank account nor any idea how to buy crypto.
Yes, it's a very good question. And frankly, I'm not happy with where we are. Our average account is something like $12,000 or $12,500, which tells me instantly, without even checking, that we are providing great service to rich people. If for somebody in Africa, having $12,000 of spare money that I can just put somewhere makes you very, very rich. Okay. So obviously for a billionaire on Fifth Avenue, $12,000 is nothing. So our goal has always been to enable everyone to participate. And our strategy has been to accumulate enough large depositors so we can then do much more for the smaller depositors. And smaller, I mean, we don't have any minimum, unlike other people who have minimums because they don't want the little guys, right? I mean, it cost us $3 just to do KYC on you, to make sure that you're not a computer or a bot or a fake ID guy or whatever, right? So if somebody comes and deposits $10, we will never make a profit on that person because it costs us $3 just to onboard them with KYC, right? And we have to do that because we cannot risk the rest of the community just because we're one guy. But we're committed to do that. Today, you can come to Celsius and open an account, put $10 and earn $1 a year on your stable coin. And we will be very happy with that, right? Obviously, we're going to make nothing on it. We're going to lose money. But that is part of our commitment. Our commitment is for the rich people to subsidize the poor people. What happens today? Today, the poor people subsidize the rich people. And people look at me and say, what are you talking about, Alex? Poor people don't have money to subsidize the rich people. Let me give you one example of how the poorest Americans subsidize the richest person in America. Who used to be the richest? Number one on the list, Warren Buffett. So how can the poorest people in America subsidize the richest guy in America? The poorest people in America every year are charged $30 to $36 billion in overdraft fees and other account fees, right? What does it mean? It means that you wrote a check and you were overdrafting, you did a withdrawal and you overdrafted, $30 fine, $30 fine. I've never paid a fine in my entire life, but poor people pay fines all the time. They have no money, but they are charged fines. Now, who gets that profit? That $30 fine is 100% profit for the bank. They don't have any cost, right? When they could have just as easily rejected the transaction. They could have said no, or they could have said, fine, I'm overdrafting you by $10. And instead of charging a $30 fine, I'm giving you grace period, 3 days to pay back the $10 that you overdrafted. It doesn't cost them anything. After all, they're getting the money for free from the Fed, for free, yes. They can create as much money as they want and they don't need any deposits against it. So that $30 goes to Warren Buffett as either dividends or stock buybacks. And that's why he owns bank stocks. He's the largest shareholder, Wells Fargo. He's one of the largest shareholders, Bank of America. So unfortunately, the system is rigged in a way that guarantees that the poor people are the ones who are paying for the rich people. Again, Celsius figured out how to get the hedge funds to pay for your interest income, just like we figured out how to give you internet for free in the subways in New York. 8 million people use it every day. Well, when it's not Corona, I got the phone companies to pay for it. My entire life has been this. This is not like, oh, I just found one little crack in the wall, okay? So the point is that we can continue doing this again and again and again. Our job, Celsius' job, is to come up with more and more and more of these products because you guys are giving us the deposits, right? If you give us the deposits, you're not giving them to the bank. You're giving us the power. You're taking it away from the bank, right? You're unbanking yourself. For every dollar that you give us, the bank has to close $10 worth of loans because through fractional reserves, if they don't have the reserves, they have to collapse the loans. So you have tremendous power. Next question.
Thank you. The next question is from Whisk. He goes, thank you for all of everything that you do. How does one know for sure that stable assets such as Saga has its SDR value backing properly pegged with integrity? May we check its smart contract contents or audit results somewhere?
Saga on their website has a statement. I think that statement is issued every month from an auditor who audits the banks that they use. I think they use a bank in Switzerland that verifies that they have the assets, because Saga is a SDR, meaning they have, I think, 40% dollar and something like 15% in British pound and like 30% in euro, whatever. They actually verify that, they put it on the website, and you have to trust the auditor, right? You have to make sure that the auditor is not corruptible, that they didn't cheat, that they didn't, and just like the auditor found that Wirecard was missing $2 billion that they didn't really have, in this case, no auditor is going to risk their reputation or their insurance or going to jail. In Switzerland, you will go to jail, unlike the United States, if you lie about things like this. So I have very high trust level in Saga. I know those guys. We invested in their project. So I'm a big believer that what they're doing is legitimate and is something that the community needs. We did not put it in the wallet for no reason. I think that having a basket of currencies is always better than having one currency. Next question.
Thank you. So the next question, I'm not sure who it's from, but it says, will SEPA instant credit transfer be supported in the Celsius app?
Yeah, coming next week.
I'm sure they're very excited for that. So the next question comes from Simon. In the future,
not just SEPA is supported. You can immediately buy BTC, ETH, or stable US stablecoin, USDC, with no fees.
So the next question is from Simon. It goes, in the future, do you think we'll be able to earn interest on NFTs such as tokenized real estate, art, stocks, and gaming items?
It's definitely coming. I just don't know when. I was a speaker at the NFT conference for the last, I think, 3 years in a row. I'm a big believer in NFTs. The question is, the issues are more have to do with legal and enforcement and security and things like that. So today there aren't enough NFT assets. I think as this community kind of develops itself, for example, the art world or some other world starts adopting NFTs to represent either physical assets or digital assets, you will see that. As I mentioned before, we already lending against digital assets like domains, internet domains, right? So that's a form of NFT. A website, not a website, a domain, right? Like Celsius.network is something of value, right? It's something that is only one-off. It's like an NFT, and you can actually come to Celsius and say, hey, I have this really valuable domain, google.com. How much would you lend me against that? Well, if you had google.com, we could probably easily lend you $100 million against that.
Thank you. So the next question comes from Sansa. I'm still laughing at that. Is there a view to allow seamless exchange between the CEL token and other currencies within the Celsius platform?
Is there an easy way to exchange? It's not in the next release, but I think it's in the one next after that. You will be able to use, I think it's called Changely. But today you can use some of the DEXs that we support, including Total, to seamlessly exchange between all these different assets. And we have several people inside the company, Wasim and others, who are working on making it seamless. So yes, the question is just, is it in July or is it in August or is it in September? No fees.
Never fees. So I've got a question here. Celsius recently added Ethereum Classic to the platform. Could you tell us more about this coin and the market for the coin?
So yeah, so we had institutional demand. Actually, institutions came to us and said, we need Ethereum Classic. We want to do market making. We want to do, sometimes they want to go short. Sometimes they want to borrow against it. So we looked at it and we asked ourselves, why aren't we listing it? And the answer was, well, we just didn't list it. Great, there's demand, let's list it, let's start lending it out. So we launched it, 6.1% interest. It's a beautiful asset. It's earning more than Ethereum. If you have any, transfer it and you will earn more ETC on your ETC. And again, starting next week, we'll be also offering loans against it. So if you have a lot of Ethereum Classic and you want to take a loan against it, you can.
Sounds good. So I've got a question from Matt here, and he goes, hey, Alex, what coins do you foresee being added to the platform within the next 2 years? So we are adding, some of these coins have technical issues,
meaning the blockchain that they use is not supported by this or that custodian, and they're not on mainnet yet, and they're yielding, but the hosting or our ability to host these things for our users is not safe. So we have a bunch of coins, right? I mean, when I see Coinbase or somebody else charging you 25% for hosting coins for you, I get really mad, So I'm in a hurry, believe me. I'm poking my team every day and saying, well, why don't we have Tezos? Why don't we have, like obviously we announced the partnership with Chainlink. We announced the partnership with Horizon. So why don't we have Zen, right? Which is yielding something like 16 or 18%, right? So the answers are always, and these are all coins we're going to be adding, including BSV, for example. I know there's a lot of positive and negative about BSV, but we have institutional demand. When we earn from an institution on BSV, that money doesn't only go to the BSV guys, it actually goes to everybody. It fills the coffers for all of you, right? Because it's earnings that are going pro rata to all of our users. So if you hate BSV because you don't think that Satoshi is Satoshi, do you want to earn more or do you don't want to earn more? So we don't take political positions. We're Republicans, we're Democrats, it doesn't matter. Our job is to extract as much as possible out of these institutions. If you want us to stop doing that, then do not deposit your BSV or withdraw all your coins. If you want us to do more, give us more. We do not have, as of today, we do not have enough Bitcoin. We do not have enough Ethereum. We do not have most of the coins that we have in our wallet. It's not like they're sitting idle. We're almost fully deployed, right? And for us, fully deployed is 80% because we always keep 20% for redemptions or flash crashes or margin calls or anything like that. So I think I answered the question.
Most definitely.
I'm almost tempted to open one of these and have and become a full. You want to be a full Celsian? We'll put these in the swag store. That's a great idea. I like
open
that.
Open it up. It looks delicious. So I've got another question for you here, and I'm interested to know this one as well. This comes from Fox. Alex, you've sold 7 startups. Why are you still working? First,
I didn't sell them. For example, the Subway project, I still own a nice chunk of it. Arbanet became a public company. I think I still have shares in that. So the goal, the way I operate is not about, let me create something, pump it up, dump it on somebody else, and then go and cruise in a fancy yacht for the rest of my life. That does not make me happy. So for me, happiness is when I win because other people win, right? So again, do good first and then do well. Arbanet, which brought voice of IP to the world, right? Brought hundreds of millions of people into this idea that you can basically not use your phone company and pay $3 a minute. You can use free service like we're using right now, Zoom or whatever, right? Enabled the service for now several billion people, right? And we did well. The public company was worth over $1 billion. So this is a win for me. Why? We made the world a better place. We enabled people to communicate, solve many issues, right? 1 million different issues, health issues and happiness issues, right? Of people talking to their families. I mean, you can't do that. Like, I am so happy and so excited that I get to do this twice in my life, right? VoIP and MoIP, right? Most people don't get to do it once, right? So for me, people go like, Alex, where does all this energy come from? Is that from those salads that you eat every day? No, I'm just really excited. I can't wait to wake up and solve these problems and take the power away from the banks, right? Take the power away from all these people who charge you fees, right? Why am I so passionate about it? Because no one else will do that, And the world continues to run the way it runs because no one puts their foot down and says, no more. You're not going to cross this line. I'm going to do whatever it takes to convince billions of people around the world that this is what they need to do. They need to act in their own best interest or enable someone who's acting in their own best interest. So You're right. I don't need to sell Celsius. I'm not planning to sell Celsius, but bringing strategic investors, again, I own over 80% of Celsius right today. So, and I funded it from day one with my co-founder Daniel and other people, and we are again, all this money that's coming in, Bank to the Future, our strategic investors, none of it we're putting in our pocket. It's not like we are selling. We could have just easily sold our position, sell 10, 20% of the company, take all that cash and put it in our pockets, right? That's what many times people do, right? But here, this is about building an institution that will outlast us, right? If you watch some of my early videos, right, my dream is that this institution continues to act in your children's best interest after me and you are long gone off this planet. Because if we don't create an institution like this, what do you think is going to happen? Watch our government, watch our Fed, and you tell me, what do you think is going to happen? Next question.
So the next question comes through is from Jarmo, and he says, are you worried about the competition for your business model?
I am not worried about the people running behind me. What I'm worried about is hitting a wall because one of the banks or one of the politicians who have a completely opposite interest from what I'm doing finds a way to either slow us down or shut us down. And the only way they will do that is if we made a mistake, right? So for example, if we allowed a terrorist to use our platform and they can use that, they can leverage that to shut us down. We broke some law because we weren't paying attention and we weren't diligent, right? And they will use that to shut us down. And believe me, they will take advantage of it in a second. So if you watch Celsius from day one of the first things we did is went to the SEC and filed a Reg D saying, this is what we intend to do. This is how it's going to operate. We are filing it with you so you know what we're doing, right? So very, very few, frankly, I don't know almost any ICO that have filed a Reg D with the SEC, right? We went and filed with FinCEN. It's another organization that watches money transmission all over the world. And we said, look, here, we touch money. It moves around. We are filing with you to verify that we're doing everything properly. Here is our terms and conditions. Here is our procedures, and so on. So all these things are done not because we're afraid of these institutions. All these things are done to make sure that we're acting not just in your best interest, but within the confinements of what the law is. You have to be compliant. You have to follow the regulation. Otherwise, and again, some of our competitors are breaking the law every day, breaking, issuing loans where they're not allowed to, taking deposits in states that they're not allowed to, right? Including in Europe and in the United States. So we don't do any of those things. That's why in our app, sometimes you travel somewhere and you open it and it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because that state or that country specifically states you cannot provide this service in our country. We don't care if you have a connecting flight and you just landed in our state, right? You're not allowed to provide that service. So to be fully compliant is very expensive. It's not something cheap. It's much easier to just skate, not have an address on your website of where you're located, tell everybody that you're based in one country where you're actually based in a completely different country, right? So if you're about to deposit your money with somebody who is never to be found, I'm right here on Lexington and 63rd Street on the 20th floor, okay? I'm not hiding because we're doing everything legally. And just do your homework. That's all I'm saying. Next question.
The next question is from Emil, and they ask, what will be the next big goal for Celsius? What's your big goal, Alex?
You mean after we got 1 billion people on board, or which?
Give us both answers.
Look, so the wallet today handles digital assets. We just added gold. We plan to add other non-correlated assets. So we're just at the beginning of the road. We haven't done anything yet. Remember, all the money in the world is still sitting with banks that pay you nothing for it. And this is a fight over all the money in the world. This is not a little skirmish over the leftovers. This is not a little skirmish over the few people who are in crypto that no one cares about. This is a fight over all the money in the world. Now, today we're so small that none of the banks even cares. Like we get a few $1 million in deposits every day. We had a week where we got $70 million in deposits, and we got all excited. Most banks, it's like nothing for them. That's like the few hours worth of transactions, you know? So we are just getting started, but this thing grows exponentially. And when it grows exponentially, the money involved also grows exponentially. And that's where you start to matter. And you can't fix this. You cannot steal from all the people all the time and think you're not going to have any consequences. You are going to have consequences. And the consequences are that everybody's going to leave you, Mr. Bank. And I'm not talking about my wife. I'm talking about the real banks. Next question.
The next question comes from Quinton. It goes, what features do you personally want to be implemented in the Celsius Network app that doesn't exist now?
Look, I want taking loans to be much easier. Click of a button. I want you to be able to use all your assets to either borrow or do things with instead of one-on-one, which it is today. I want a lot of stuff that's actually not that difficult. We just got to finish it, right? But we want to add more utility. Like one of the things that is very important for me is for example, you being able to use Amazon or other services with the value that you have stored. So I don't want you to sell your Bitcoin or sell your Ethereum. I want you to buy necessities or pay your bills, necessities, right? Not speculation. And us helping you not pay 24% on your credit card for those, right? So the nirvana for me is for each one of my customers, okay, is to wake up and the first thing they think to themselves is, wow, I'm earning more than all of my bills. My assets in Celsius are earning more than my rent and my phone and my Netflix account and all those things put together. And it pays for all of that put together, right? And you can get there. That's how the rich people live. The rich people don't sit there and think about rent or think about where am I gonna, I gotta shut down that music service that I have because it's $9.95 a month, right? So that's what we want to get all of you, right? And to get there, you have to accumulate, you have to hodl, and those assets have to earn more on the asset. They have to basically accumulate where the interest that you generate becomes more than your cost, more than your daily cost of living. Next question.
The next question to come through is from Stefan. He goes, given the influx of outside investment, what guarantee do Cell token buyers have that the company will continue using Cell in the future?
So again, before Celsius, I did 7 startups as the founder, and every one of them had a VC. And usually what happens is a VC shows up, he gives you that $10 million check. Most of the companies I raised, 10 million as my first or second round. And he comes, sits on the board, or him and 2 friends come and sit on the board, and they start telling you what to do. And they say, well, we don't like this and we don't like that. And right? And very quickly, you have to do what's in their best interest, not what you were actually planning to do from the beginning. And that's why you're seeing sooner or later, you see ads start showing up in Instagram. Ads start showing up in WhatsApp. Well, that's not how the creators of these companies want it, right? So the same thing here, right? We are not giving board seats to the investors. We are not changing who's in charge. We are not providing all these people. And the reason we waited so long to bring investors is because we wanted to prove the model to a scale where even strategic investors would come and say, here's our money, it's important for us, we want to be part of this company, and we do not need to sit on your board. We trust you, Alex. We want you to continue doing what you're doing. We want you to continue paying 80% to the community. We want you to use our money to grow the community and double what you're paying them when they bring a new member in. So 10 plus 10 to 20 plus 20. So if you don't believe what I'm saying, look at our actions. Find a single action that we have taken in the last 2 years that is not improving, increasing what we're doing for you. And compare that to what all the other guys are doing. All I'm seeing is exchanges and other people raising their fees, putting more barriers, putting withdrawal things, putting restrictions, right? So again, who is acting in your best interest? Don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. Okay, and I can stand behind every decision Celsius and the team has made as being in your best interest. Next question.
So I'm bringing us back out in time here. Matthew goes, in the early 1900s, the US government confiscated gold that was being stored in the banking system, replacing it with the USD. Do you think something similar could happen to Bitcoin or other cryptos?
Again, you cannot confiscate Bitcoin. You can make it illegal and say you must surrender the keys. But I can claim I don't have keys, right? It's going to be very hard for someone to prove that I do or whatever. But look, the reason the US confiscated all the gold was because the dollar was pegged to the gold. It was attached to the gold. And for the US government to print more dollars, they needed the gold. Obviously, since 1970, we went off the gold standard. And as you know, the Fed is printing money like crazy. The printer is so hot because it's printing so fast that you can't even touch it, right? So I don't see a need. The US government does not need Bitcoin. The entire market cap of Bitcoin is like less than 200 billion. Now we spend that in just a few weeks, right? So even if they confiscated all of Bitcoin, it's nothing. You understand? It's like they're looking at it, it's like, it's not worth the effort. So now Bitcoin can become very large. It could be worth 100 times more. And then it may be worth doing something about. And you can see China and other countries may be doing things about it. I still believe this is a country of laws. I still believe that this is a country where the government represents the people. And if it's worth 100 times more, that means that 100 times as many people own it. And then the people will say, no mas, don't touch my Bitcoin. So I'm not so worried about that as a problem. Next question.
So the next question for you is a bit of a theoretical one. Can you discuss the philosophy of long-term hodling? If I'm hodling Ether and it goes 1,000 times, bracket hopium, don't I want to sell it? If I hold and it goes back down, don't I lose out? Can you discuss this, please?
Yeah, so hodling does not work for depreciating assets. So if you look at the US dollar, hodling US dollars is a horrible idea. I'm not saying hodling applies to everything, right? Hodling tomatoes does not work. They go bad after a while. So we are talking about non-correlated assets that we think are going to appreciate in time. Now, I'm not saying in any way that all the assets in the Celsius wallet are going to appreciate, right? And we don't know which ones are going to appreciate and which ones don't. That's your decision. You have to do homework. For example, like I did my homework. I hold gold, I hold Bitcoin, I hold Ethereum. These are the three main, and obviously sell token, a lot of sell token. But I believe that these are scarce assets. I believe these assets will increase in value over time. I believe you should hodl all those assets. These are my beliefs. Now, if you're a big XRP fan or if you're a big BSV fan, great. I can't even argue with you. I don't know enough about BSV to tell you if it's a good investment or a bad investment. All I'm saying is that hodling scarce asset beats every day hodling assets that are being diluted. Again, since 2008, on average, the Fed printed 20% more dollars every year. So if you wake up in the morning and suddenly you have 20% more children, would you notice that? Right? So I have 6 kids. Believe me, I would notice that. Another kid has just appeared out of nowhere. This is what's happening to the dollar. Okay? And you have to feed that mouth. It's the same thing. It's like, okay, they're hungry. They need a diaper. They need to go to college. They want to get married. Who do you think is going to pay all of that? So the dollar is depreciating very, very rapidly. And I cannot stress any stronger to tell you that if you're holding dollars, they lose their value faster than almost anything else. And you need to move off the dollar into something, again, at least move into Saga, which is a basket of currency. But even better, move into a non-correlated asset like cryptocurrencies or gold, right? So these are the services we provide. We also yield on top of it. It's not just holding the asset, which we make easy, but now you can also yield on top of it. So now you're putting the power of of accumulating interest, right? On top of the fact that you are detaching yourself from the US dollar. Next question.
So we're down to our last couple of questions. I have one from the ICO Research Group. Do you plan on doing any further funding rounds?
The answer is yes. I mean, we do want to add more capital when it's necessary. Sometimes it's because a very important strategic investor says, look, you want this, do this big deal with me. I want a piece of your equity. I'm going to make you much more valuable. I want 5 or 10% of the company. And we have these discussions all day long with different investors and different partners and so on. So sometimes it's done because of strategic investments reasons. Sometimes it's done because you want to add more capital. So I'm going to do a big campaign. I want to add $1 billion worth of gold to my balance sheet, right? Not to my balance sheet, in deposits. So how do I do that? Well, I need to hire people. I need to do marketing. I need to convince the gold bugs that we are just as good for them as we are for the crypto community. And all those things take money, right? Cost money. So you raise money up front, just like most companies do. And then you spend it to bring all these customers, and the investors who gave you the money benefit from an increase in the value of the company. Now, again, you still own that cell token. So the cell token people also benefit, right? You're spending that money on them. Adding $1 billion in gold stable coins, not stable coins, in gold tokens is good for the cell token holders as well, right? Next question.
So the final question for today is, how concerned are you about government legislation against crypto? Do you have a plans for positive legislation? Do you have a plan for more negative legislation?
So I talked about this on Bloomberg, and I talked about this in some of our AMAs. I believe that, again, there's 3 horses competing in this race. You have the corporate horse, which is like Libra or JP Morgan coins that are basically saying it's going to be a corporate solution that wins the next version of the stablecoin. Then you have the open standard blockchain, right? The Ethereum, Bitcoin, and so on and so on. And the third horse is the central banks, right? Like the US dollar, the Chinese central bank, who will print a Chinese yuan, digital yuan, on a blockchain. We know it's coming, right? So will China pass laws to suppress or make illegal competitors of their digital currency? Yes, they will, right? The United States is already the reserve currency of the world. So the United States will only do that if they feel threat from Bitcoin. For Bitcoin to become a threat to the US dollar, it has to be probably at $1 million of Bitcoin, okay, or more, right? So today, and I know this from first hand, this is not some rumor I read or some article I read on CoinDesk or whatever. This is me talking to people I know at Treasury who told me Bitcoin is not representing a risk to the US dollar. Even though you see these tweets from the president and things like that, we, Treasury, which is the guys who actually run the US dollar, right? They're the guys who make sure that the entire world is staying on the US dollar standard, do not see this as a threat. And in addition, they do not see stable coins as a threat, because anything denominated in dollars is good for the US dollar, right? So you can, that's why you have, I think, 11 or 12 different stable coins in dollars, and you have 0 stable coins in euros that are used anywhere, right? And 0 stable coins used in China. So there's a very good reason for that. And when you follow, again, what they do instead of what they say, you will see that neither the Bitcoin or stable coins represent a threat to the United States, and hence you're not going to have heavy regulation. Now, it does not mean that tomorrow the Senate or the House may not come up with some bill because somebody got convinced by a bank to bring a new regulation on a new law to be passed, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that organically, the intent of the US government and the intent of the Fed is not to kill all these little things. They don't care about that. They just printed over $10 trillion with a T, $10 trillion, and no one noticed. Everybody's celebrating that Apple is at all-time high and Google is, and Amazon is at all-time high. Well, it may be up to 20 or 30%, but they printed 20% more dollars. So you're not up at all. You're actually treading water. All right, guys. Thanks for your time. Thanks for allowing me to spend time with you and bring all these questions and spending your Fridays with us. And we need you to spread the word. We need you to continue educating other people, convincing other people that this is acting in their best interest. And we don't, again, I don't want anyone putting all their money into Celsius, right? All we want people to do is to take $20, $50, $100, get paid interest a few weeks, and then decide what, out of all my assets, how much do I want to be non-correlated, right? Based on my income, based on my assets. If I have a lot of real estate, they're all dollar denominated. If I have a lot of income, if I get big bonuses every year, it's all dollars. So do you want to have some 5-10% in gold? Do you want to have 5-10% in Bitcoin? This is the solution we provide. We worry about that piece. We're not going to help you with your real estate, and we're not going to help you with your Amazon stock or with anything else. I leave that to the professional on Wall Street, since they do such a good job of taking care of you and acting in your best interest. Have a great weekend. Thanks so much, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Tom. And Tom has amazing new content. If you haven't seen it, go to YouTube, search for Celsius Network. Tom is responsible for all of it. He used to be one of our ambassadors. Now he's a full-timer, and he just got a raise. He doesn't even know it, but he just got a raise. So,
yeah, well, thank you for letting me know on the AMA, Alex. I appreciate